is a Tracking the Tropics update with a certified most accurate weather team at First Coast News.
Hello and welcome to Talkin Tropics. I'm meteorologist Lee South. We've got a full house today. I'm joined by Chief Meteorologist Lewis Turner and meteorologist Robert Speta.
Hey,
hello.
And guys, Imelda is strengthening. We just got the 11 a.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center, and our winds are now up to 80 miles an hour. But Robert, you said this earlier. This storm is one of the ugliest hurricanes that you've seen. Is that the word you used?
It is.
Organized?
It is. I think if we did not have hurricane hunters actually flying into this thing, no one would upgrade this to a full-on hurricane. It is just disrupted. But we have recon that actually proves ground truth of how strong it is out there, Lee.
Yeah, we do. And so it's moving to the northeast at 7 miles an hour. We finally got that turn more to the east. We were waiting for it. We knew it was going to happen. We were never nervous it wasn't going to happen. It's just nice to see that turn to the east. So now it's more northeast, moving at 7 miles an hour. Lou, this will continue to turn out to the east.
boom.
That's
it.
Boom.
Yeah, listen, the forecast has been pretty confident starting really Saturday night and Sunday that you were going to see this. Now, it's amazing. All the options that were kind of on the table when the system was the potential tropical cyclone. And remember, the cone was pretty spot on to this point, but this is essentially when that cone had that weird sort of balloon at the end of a string look that included essentially Jacksonville all the way up to the Outer Banks and the potential for a turn out. This has always kind of been on the table, is this best case scenario, this turn out to sea. And big thanks, big shout out to King Umberto out there helping us out with some Fujiwara action and really disturbing everything else about steering currents and pulling Imelda away.
And you can see, so unfortunately, Imelda is expected to be a Category 2 hurricane when it's near Bermuda. And that mess of a system there, too, that is actually Umberto. It was such a well-defined storm yesterday. On satellite, it looked pretty. Of course, we know it's not. A hurricane is never pretty. But that is now a mess of a hurricane. Umberto is also weakening, but it's moving to the north, and then it will move to the northeast as Imelda will then follow behind it, but unfortunately actually approach Bermuda as a Cat 2 hurricane.
And, this is something, we mentioned Fujiwara, and I got to point this out because the number one question we always get whenever we talk about Fujiwara, you get those two storms, and I'm sure both of you have been asked the same question, is are they going to merge and create one big storm? And we're kind of seeing that on satellite right now in the sense that what we're seeing is the overall pressure gradient almost getting combined with these two. And you got to remember, with pressure gradient, the wider it is, the less the winds are. I know that sounds counterproductive, but just think if you have think of it in a topographic sense. If you have a steep, deep hole, that would be a hurricane, just going straight down. But if you have kind of a big, broad hole, you're not going to fall down that and roll real. It's all about the steepness of that gradient. So with these two, I think they're kind of stealing energy and they're stretching that gradient. And yes, they're both hurricanes, but they're not merging and becoming one big powerful storm. If anything, the energy is kind of getting stretched out and sheared apart by both of them. And thus, Humberto went down from a Cat 5, a couple days ago, but now it's interacting with Imelda, and we just got a Cat 1 on our hand out here right now.
And that's new as of 11 a.m. So now both Imelda and Umberto, the same strength, Lou. They both have sustained winds of 80 miles an hour.
And an Umberto that had the Cat 5 classification not long ago. So amazing. That's a big storm. Another question, kind of a big question I've had about Fujiwara, talking about kind of how rare it is for the Atlantic, is, when have we seen this before in the Atlantic side of things? And there's some interesting symmetry to this. So I think we can go back to the year 2000. We actually had what have been 4 hurricanes, but 2 different instances of this occurring. All right, so you go way back there. Another situation where you had 2017, but I think the most kind of famous image would have been if you go back to 1995. That hurricane season was wild because you truly had a real African kind of train set up, because you had Jerry, Karen, you had an H storm in Umberto, by the way, and you had an ice storm in Iris. So, and then ultimately you had the Hij, K, L, and M right behind it. It was a wild season. But the symmetry behind it is you had 2 hurricanes in Iris and, yes, Umberto in 1995. So Umberto, now the name that's done this Fujiwara thing friggin' twice.
Wow.
Which is kind of wild. Obviously, pure total coincidence. There's nothing to the names other than that cycle that we hit, But it's just kind of funny to think. So it is rare. I mean, with just those handful of examples that we can talk about on the Atlantic side of things.
So you've seen it in the Pacific, Robert.
Yeah, it's only because there's more ocean to deal with in the Pacific Ocean. I think a lot of the times in the Atlantic, it's just you don't have as much room to work with 2 storms heading up in the right predicament. But in this scenario, we did. And as we've seen and we said from the beginning, it makes the forecast tricky. It definitely kind of bounced all over the place. But it is a testament because I think our forecast, despite us saying tricky and we were very transparent with it, I think 20 years ago, and I would love to have seen what the forecasts were like in 1995, kind of predicting the Fujiwara effect, because I almost guarantee it was like, we'll see what happens. And given the guidance and even some of the new AI models, the Google DeepMind, I know, pretty accurately predicted it. So it's kind of interesting how things are evolving with the Fujiwara effect and looking forward out here.
It is. I mean, I don't know about you guys. One of the reasons why I love meteorology and weather is it's not an exact science, and there's more to learn, and there's more that we're studying every day. We never stop trying to study and learn. So I thought we could move to local impacts because although Imelda is moving away from us, we're still going to get some impacts here locally, mainly at the beaches. You guys can see there's not a whole lot of rain out there. It's not like yesterday where we had more of that rain moving on shore, the heavy tropical downpours. But guys, occasionally a few of those showers still clipping the coast, the beaches. It's like right up on the sand, some of those showers moving on shore. So I'll go over to the chief. What do you think for the rest of the day when it comes to our rainfall totals?
Low.
Perfect.
Yeah, low. We had been saying aggressively between a half inch to an inch and a half yesterday, and I think that may be an inch and a half. If anybody gets that, you're getting under a pretty heavy downpour for a good period of time. So notice the orientation of the bands. So they're oriented northwest to southeast, kind of diagonal. Opposite to a position that would provide training. So if you had it running the opposite way, think about like an X, and if it were moving more northeast to southwest, then you get better training opportunity and that opportunity for getting more totals, higher totals. But this is the example. So this line is going to move on shore in St. Augustine here in the next 30, 45 minutes or so. And by the time it starts raining, and maybe a pretty good downpour for you downtown, probably a pretty blinding downpour, like not the greatest of returns on radar with the bright reds that you'd see in a typical afternoon powerful shower thunderstorm, because these are so shallow, right? And that's also why we're not seeing any lightning here. But that's pretty good rain, but it's going to be over with before you know it. It's going to start, you're like, oh my gosh, it's raining. And by the time that you put the period on that, oh my gosh, it's raining, the rain will start ending on you. So it's quick. These are quick movers, and certainly not for everybody today, right? In Southeast Georgia, just the way things are lining up, I'd say lower chances, right? So, I mean, might get a quick shower in Brunswick, St. Simons, Jekyll. You see a few little dots out there, but the way those bands are going, and now with the way that Imelda is moving more east, we're just going to kind of get improving conditions, at least for rainfall rates.
I think.
I was going to toss you, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, I think that one thing that we could see along the coast, especially just offshore, we saw 2 days ago in Volano Beach, is water spouts. Mm-hmm. There is a small craft advisory in place. Now, it's not to say there's going to be tornadoes everywhere, but it's definitely something if you are at the beach and you're seeing these bands just offshore. It's not saying that it will happen, but this is the type of setup that would be conducive for some little offshore water spouts, which is not completely unheard of in this type of setup. There's a live look right there, by the way, of Jack Speechley.
Yeah, and so you can see we have rough conditions out there at the beaches. We have a small craft advisory. We have a high surf advisory. And Robert, you were out at the beach yesterday as well in the Protector. And another thing that we're feeling at the beaches, the breezy to gusty conditions. What was it like out there yesterday?
It was that. It was breezy to gusty. We have a nice little anemometer on top of the protector. I think the highest gust I got on that was about 33 miles per hour that I seen. And that was in the Summer Haven area. So that's just north of Marineland, south of Crescent Beach. Big thing out there was definitely the breeze. The waves were coming up. It was not a good surfing day. I didn't really see. I saw one windsurfer going at it, and he looked like he was just having a bad day.
Okay.
But outside of that, it was. I saw more people doing weather tourism, sitting there and kind of watching the waves than I saw anybody really kind of impacted by it out there. So
that makes sense. And we had Zach Wilcox out there on Sunday, and he said in that same area, kind of near where you were, the wind made the sand sting when it blew too. It was really uncomfortable. Yeah, if we pull up our graphics here, I have our current wind speeds, and we're gonna still see the breezy conditions today, but hold on, unfortunately, the wind's actually going to ramp up later on this week as we head into the weekend. But right now we have double digits out there for St. Simon's Island, Brunswick, Mayport, St. Augustine, NAS Jax, even Keystone Heights seeing that, and some stronger gusts in the 20s out there right now. So again, our beaches, not a good day at the beach. You can see the rough seas. This is a live look out at Neptune Beach, and you can see the Whitecaps out there with the small craft advisory that we do have in place. So Chief Meteorologist Lou Turner, we have another weather impact alert in effect today.
Yeah, and watch out. Dangerous ocean conditions, can't hammer that home enough. I don't think anybody's wanting to really get in the ocean anyway. It's not ideal surfing weather. It's a washing machine at this moment, which we got a pretty good picture of from that Neptune Beach cam. And then we're also kind of in the back of our mind wanting people to be aware of just if you get a downpour during the commute, we could have some problems. So hence that weather impact alert for one more day as we kind of go through this evening commute cycle and watch this move away. This is impressive though. Your wave heights. So with the small craft advisory, we had 5 to 6 feet yesterday. Obviously, the wave heights getting a little bit bigger. We're 8 to 10. We're seeing and some of 10 feet of seas now. So we're talking about our buoy reports just offshore of St. Augustine. We're seeing 10-foot seas. Not the ideal offshore fishing. Right, I mean, we're not doing that. That would be not fun, and not really. And this isn't a switch that just flips off. So even as you get to Wednesday and we get some better weather and things look a little bit better tomorrow, it's not just going to all of a sudden go from 8 to 10 to those nice 2 to 3, 2 to 4 that you can do some offshore fishing in, and then by the weekend, like Lee just alluded to, not tropically related, but we're going to get another nor'easter setup like we've been dealing with. It seems like the entire kind of second half or last third of summer and this beginning of fall. So these nor'easter setups really kind of pummeling us again, making for not the most ideal offshore fishing if you're a salt lifer out there.
Yeah, but one thing with the nor'easter too, though, is something you could look forward to is it should bring in at least some cooler temperatures.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that.
Yeah.
This is a look at the tides, by the way, and what's this for today? I did see a little bit of tidal flooding actually right here in downtown yesterday, just outside of Maxwell House, Hogan's Creek area. The water's going up, but this is going to be kind of those classic flood-prone areas at high tide for like that 30-minute period around high tide. You could see a little bit of flooding, but I think outside of that, not looking at too big of impacts. What do you two think?
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe 1.5 feet higher than normal for our high tides in that today and tomorrow. So you can see today we have the dangerous surf out there and the possibility of some isolated showers, mainly right along our beaches. And then tomorrow, as Robert said, it's actually a nicer day too. It's going to be drier air that's moving in, mostly sunny skies, 83 degrees and breezy, but that wind does pick up. So as we head into Thursday, it gets windy and we can still have some of that rain coming back with the winds coming out of the northeast, some moisture moving on shore, some of those showers out there still as we head towards Thursday. Now, I did put the gusts on here, guys. I think by Thursday, gusts up to 30 inland, but some models, some data kind of showing maybe gusts maxing out around 40 by Thursday. What do you guys think?
I think it's interesting, in my opinion, that we will have higher wind gusts likely on Thursday than we did with Imelda at its closest approach, excuse me. And that seems about right. A solid nor'easter. How about you, Lou?
Yeah, and 40 is a magic number. So, that's where greater potential for any sort of damage occurs. We watch 40 to 50, and of course, you get closer to 60, and that's when you get severe and some better chance of some real damage. But 40 is a number that can put some tree limbs down, can absolutely put some power lines down if you get good, consistent, lengthy 40-mile-an-hour winds. So certainly something to consider. And I want to look at Thursday into Friday, just how tight that pressure gradient gets from the high to our north. That's what would cause the greatest chance of seeing those strong winds. But 40, that's right in the wheelhouse. And thinking back, we had one of our previous nor'easters. I was seeing gusts of 41 and 42 at Mayport, and they're all kind of running together because we've had several, and it was kind of been just one big one, right? But I mean, I say all that with the mind frame of we've got the history for it, so we've got the. Certainly had the trend, so wouldn't surprise me at all if we're getting really blown around Thursday. And you brought up the tides. It's kind of, with Imelda sort of lining up the way it did, and these bigger coastal impacts lining up the way that it's good that all of this is happening kind of a week to 2 weeks before next full moon. I mean, because we're talking about October. I mean, I think first week of October, October 6th. I know we're right here at October. That'll be, so 6th, 7th, I believe, is when we're getting our next full moon. And that's when we could really actually still need to be talking about our tides, right? Because we'll get those higher astronomical tides plus this continued nor'easter. So let's keep that in mind even into next week for sure.
Yeah, and then, you can see that, unfortunately, bad beach conditions for the weekend. We'll have to track some rain, but just the windy conditions out there at our beaches. And this could even continue into Monday. We do expect it to start drying out later on Monday, but of course we're watching it closely because we have the Jags game. So this is our very early forecast. And Lou, you and I were talking earlier about the possibility of some rain around for tailgating before the game.
Ponchos, man, bring them. So even if we're telling you this forecast now because we're using the best information we have this far out, so 7 days out, so getting all the way out to Monday. Monday night football. So remember, this is going to be after sun's gone down.
Watch it on ABC 25.
ABC 25 will be dry in the house, so you can. I know Coach Cohen wants all of Duval there making some noise. I do think that this is not a situation where we're getting a lot of lightning. So they're playing football. I don't think we're dealing with we did a couple weeks back where we had those lightning delays that were a problem. So it may be wet. I just, at least now have in the back of your mind, as you think, all right, we're going to Monday Night Football. There's no way we're missing this awesome opportunity to see the Jags beat the Chiefs in front of a national audience and to show off the best for Jacksonville. I'm not saying cancel plans at all. In fact, I want more people to go. Go have fun in the rain potentially, but if nothing else, have that poncho packed away in your clear bag, just ready just in case. And we're hoping maybe this will be an earlier in the day situation. But again, that's hope casting, not going on the facts. We're just using our best information that we've got for now. So certainly could have some rain out there.
Robert, at least our forecast, much better than it was this time in 2022. You were looking into some video. You want to tell us about what was happening?
So the person that probably would have the best report of what was happening is our chief meteorologist, Lewis Turner, because he was out here.
This.
Right there now.
Look at the guy in the John boat. Oh, and the famous sailboat.
Oh, man.
Hurricane Ian, Robert.
Yeah, this is all Ian out here, and of course, powerful Cat 4 when it came on shore on the West Coast. Of course, this is in St. Augustine. Lou, a lot of this video is where you were, so can you tell us, what was going on? Obviously, it was flooding, but what was going on here?
Think about what Ian did. All right, so Ian made landfall not in Northeast Florida, not on the East Coast of Florida. It made landfall in Southwest Florida. All right, and was a major. Was it a 4 at time of landfall?
I think it was a 4 at the time of landfall.
It was a 4 at time of landfall. All right, by the time it's kind of crossing the state, it did weaken to tropical storm strength before reemerging in the Atlantic, getting back to hurricane status and going up to South Carolina. But this is just when we say, there's no such thing as just a tropical storm. All right, especially for our low-lying coastal areas, a place like St. Augustine, they got so much rain, so much inundation from that onshore flow with that hurricane that it didn't exactly breach the seawall, but it's certain that water level in the Matanzas intracoastal versus that seawall, we got a point where it was, a fraction of an inch to where we could have seen it really overrun. Nonetheless, that friggin' Jeep, I remember my hotel room where I was staying was literally across from that Jeep. And I just remember thinking, did somebody put that there intentionally as some sort of, now this is my opinion, I don't know, not accusing anybody of anything, but did somebody put that there on purpose? I'm tired of this Jeep, I need an insurance claim. Like, it just sat there. Now that truck pulled up later because they had big wheels and they thought they could drive through, but that Jeep was parked there the entire time. And then I watched it float into the middle of the street.
Oh,
right?
boy.
And then that sail broke free from its moorings and ultimately bashed up against the seawall, and we had issues with that. Which is a consistent story. Anytime a storm hits St. Augustine, it seems like a sailboat breaks free and hits something.
Yeah, always right into the Bridge of Lions.
Bridge of Lions.
Yeah. I still even talk to some people who, just in the broader meteorological community, when we talk about Ian and they go, you had flooding on the East Coast? And yeah, everybody always sees the videos around, Southwest Florida where there was obviously destructive impacts, major impacts.
Right.
But with that onshore flow, and it wasn't just the coast, it wasn't just St. Augustine, but places upriver of St. John's, Willaca had flooding for days. And I remember the St. John's River being backed up consistently for about a week. We had flooding, like the Riverwalk was submerged and everything too. So it is a storm with some broader impacts, and it just is what Lou just alluded to there. There's never just a tropical storm. Even though it weakened, it still had all of that energy, and thus, what we saw here in St. And then a month after this, we had Nicole as well, right?
Oh, Nicole was also a sailboat storm. Also had a sailboat break free and actually hit Bridge of Lions in Nicole, and I was in that exact same spot there. All right, so Ian is one of those. We think Matthew, we think Irma. Ian and Nicole kind of come to mind. Of course, now in more recent memory, we think of Helene and Milton on a grand scale of Florida storms. But Ian trumps both Helene and Milton in terms of expense to the state of Florida. When you're talking about most expensive cost of damage, catastrophic storms, deadly storms, Ian is number 3 all time in the state of Florida. It beats Matthew, it beats Irma, it beats out Helene and Milton. Of course, we know nationally, on a national scale, Helene did worse, obviously, because of what happened in West North Carolina. But just strictly from a Florida standpoint, Ian is your number 3 most dangerous. I think 150 people were killed in the state of Florida from the water. Right? I know there were other outliers, but you think water with this storm. It was unbelievable. And this is one that I don't ever want us to kind of lose sight of, and of the massive impacts that Ian had on the state of Florida, from Southwest Florida running essentially parallel to I-4 south, but parallel across and then really impacting us. It was amazing. It was a major situation for us.
And as you guys mentioned, so of course Ian made landfall Southwest Florida, Helene, Milton, west coast of Florida, but still we get these impacts here.
That is I think Nicole was the only one that you listed out there that was an East. Matthew was East Coast.
Matthew
didn't make landfall.
Irma was, went up the middle of the state, but still, it's just a reminder that all of these hurricanes can impact us even if they are making landfall on the west coast of Florida. And Lou, I don't mean to put you on the spot. It's totally okay if you didn't. I like your fact that you had about it for the state of Florida. Do you know what the costliest or deadliest hurricane for Georgia was, for Southeast Georgia?
Southeast Georgia, deadliest or costliest? I assume you've got the answer.
No, I don't. That's why I said I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I didn't know either. But it comes to mind when we think of hurricanes like Helene, even Idalia, with the damage that I saw with my own eyes in places like Waycross.
It's got to be Helene. I would think Helene has got to be up there.
Like Waycross was out of school for over a month. The thing about Georgia, it's kind of interesting. It's been decades since Savannah and the low-lying, the low country has really been hit by a same thing as Jacksonville. You know, from Jacksonville all the way up to about Savannah, there's been this incredible gap in landfalling storm systems in that area. Helene
is it. By
Yeah,
that
I
makes
just Googled
sense.
it too. Yep.
Yeah.
Costliest Helene.
Michael was another one.
I was thinking about Michael. I was
Yeah,
wondering about that one.
Michael I think is number 2, and then I think number 3 is a tropical storm, Alberto, but that was 1994.
But
yeah, that's amazing.
Just the agriculture too that suffers in Georgia when these storms move through.
Yep.
and
And climatologically, just to wrap it up, on my end, so we're talking about Gulf side, and we're talking about this time of year. This is the time of year we focus back on the Caribbean and the Gulf. All right, so we can't let our guard down. Obviously, we'll still get African waves coming off that coast, long track. But you know, as we turn our attention to the end, and climatologically, the end of the hurricane season, you watch carefully those untapped resources of the Caribbean, because that water there's been nothing, you know, all season. So it's very, very warm, and we're starting to get more and more unstable air.
I'm trying to find that tropical outlook that we sometimes use. But in the meantime, we can wrap things up here with Imelda, because we came on today to mainly give you that 11 a.m. update on Imelda. The trend's still good for us. It is still turning to the east. Right now it's moving to the northeast at 7 miles an hour. If you missed it today, it did become a hurricane. It is now a Category 1 hurricane, winds of 80 miles an hour. So it actually strengthened a bit more as of the 8 a.m. advisory to the 11 a.m. advisory. And it is expected to become a Category 2 hurricane in Bermuda. Robert?
Yeah, and good news with Humberto, it is weakening, but I think Bermuda is the spot they are going to get a twofer but they're used to it. You know, they get storms like this all the time, a Cat 1, Cat 2. I'm not going to say it's nothing, because each storm has their own impacts, but they've definitely experienced worse, and I'm sure everybody out there is making those proper preparations. But good news, this is all moving away from the first coast and the east coast in general, but we got that nor'easter coming in behind it. Lou, you got anything else you want to add up here?
That's it. Thank you guys.